the band was actually together about a year before I joined the band. We all went to most of us went to the same high school. We went to Webster Groves High.
Okay.
And the guys used to rehearse pretty close to my house. So I used to walk by and hear them practicing pretty much on a daily basis. And then finally one day they needed a new singer or whatever, so I joined the band. It was like 1987. So
okay.
Yeah, we're all neighborhood kids, and we all went to the same high school.
What were some of your musical influences growing up?
Oh man, they were pretty wide range. Like growing up, I was really into like funk, like stuff like Earth, Wind and Fire, Ohio Players, Prince, and then I started getting exposed to like a lot of really cool stuff. Like the Police was like a big eye opener for me. Like a lot of the stuff that was happening post punk in the early '80s. So like the Police, U2, the Clash, the Specials, the English Beat, like that stuff was really, really influential. And then by the time the band got together, I started really kind of getting my eyes opened up to some really cool stuff like Fishbone and the Red Hot Chili Peppers and Bad Brains. So like, take all that, that's kind of where you get that urge sound from.
When do you think you first realized that this band was going to be as big to St. Louis as it's been?
We put out our second CD, it was called Putting the Backbone Back. So we put a cassette out. Back then you put out cassettes.
Right.
We put the cassette out, played around as much as we can, did a little bit of stuff on a road a little bit, and then we put out this, Putting the Backbone Back CD, and we had a release party at what used to be called the Galaxy. And we kind of like, okay, we'll have this release party, and then we left, came back, and there was a line down the street, and it was sold out. So we sold like 1,000 tickets to a show, and I'm like, okay, this is legit now. So all that work we did, playing small bars and parties and all that stuff, like paid off. And so at that point, yeah, it was, I would say that was probably like 90.
Okay.
And then we started getting some attention from Pat Hagen, who ran Mississippi Nights, and so Pat was actually managing the band for a while. So it was really cool because he would put us on shows as the opener for big acts, and when it comes to Mississippi Nights, we got a lot of exposure that way. And then he also started booking us on the road, so we started doing some pretty decent tours throughout the country. So that really helped us too. But yeah, you kind of, when we put that second CD out, that's when we started realizing, okay, people are taking this serious. So it was pretty cool. I believe so. Yeah. So when you say like locally, we had a few things before that, and it was all about the live show. But when that record came out, it was a perfect mix of a lot of stuff. The record itself was good, and it had a good feel to it. It had a good flow to it. Everything was working together. And then The Point was a new station, and the modern rock format was relatively new. So the songs started getting played not just on The Point here in St. Louis, but in some other major cities like Atlanta, Boston, Philly. They started playing it. Even without a label, they started playing the music. So, yeah, that one definitely put us on the map nationally. Yeah, so from that record, it was two major videos as well. So we had the Brainless video and the All Washed Up video that both aired on MTV. So, yeah, that one put us on the map for sure.
You mentioned The Point. How big have they been of a help for the band throughout the years?
Oh, huge, and they still are. So we right out of the box, we just had a wonderful relationship with the GM and the program directors there, and all the jocks. So they've been a huge help. Even to this day, they still promote our shows. We do all our shows that we do are Point related shows, and they were one of the few. They were one of a kind when they started. And even to this day, there's still only a handful of modern rock stations left that really do well like that. So, yeah, they were a big time part of us being successful.
What was it like to hear your one of your songs on the radio, and to take that a step further, to see your video on MTV the first time.
Yeah, so hearing it on the radio is always fun. So I mean, like, so the first time hearing it, like, you know, we'd heard it on KDHX or, you know, college radio back in the day. Gosh, and even then KDHX was still kind of new. But yeah, we'd heard it and it was like, oh man, that's really cool. But the first time hearing it on commercial radio is amazing. Like driving in your car, hearing your song, and then hearing it in another city too on commercial radio is like really cool. MTV, it's kind of like, you know, it's coming because the record label is, you know, like all behind that. You made the video, whatever, and that first time you see those letters at the bottom of the screen with your name on it, that's the whole thing. That's like the shit right there. You know what I mean? So yes, that was unreal.
How did you meet Fred Durst? And I didn't even know you guys ever toured with them.
Yeah, so we ran into them guys all the time. So we were on festivals a lot, and then we did some shows with those guys, and then, like, you know, it'd be like one-offs, or like if we were on tour or whatever, we'd do a festival and Limp Bizkit would be on it, or it'd be like a small radio show and it'd be Urge and Limp Bizkit. So I became friends with Fred, like, and he told me that those guys were big Urge fans and they would come see the Urge in 311 when we would go down and play in Florida, and I had no clue. So and then there's a nice little kind of tie-in with Limp Bizkit and Korn was on Immortal Records, so we shared, you know, that label with Immortal with Korn, and Ross Robinson produced, you know, Korn stuff, and he also produced Limp Bizkit stuff. So there was like a kind of familyhood between, you know, Urge, Korn, Incubus, you know, Limp Bizkit. We saw each other a lot.
I wanted to ask about 311. How did you come to get together with that band?
That's a cool little story. We were doing a festival down in Atlanta, big radio festivals like the Urge, Helmet, 311, a bunch of bands on that, and both of us were kind of just up and coming bands at the time. I think we were like headlining the side stage, and 311 was on like midday on the main stage, and so we'd heard of each other, and we both saw each other's performances after the shows. Like, hey man, you guys are awesome. And then we just started having beers. We started just hanging out, having some drinks after the show. It's like, we should do some shows together. And sure enough, like really shortly after that, we hooked up on a couple of shows. Short tour, had a ball, had a wonderful time. They came through, did some stuff with us in our region, and so we're like, we got to do that again. So we went back out on a major run with them before we were even signed. We had put Receiving the Gift of Flavor out, but we weren't even signed yet. So we started touring with them, and then we just kept going out with them. They had an agency, and then we ended up hooking up with their agency. So it became like, we became part of this like family, and we just stayed out on the road together, and it was great because the two styles meshed, and the show was high energy, and anybody who came got, you know, a really good ass show. So it was great to be able to be out with them, and there's some really hard working guys, and they really helped us out a lot. So it was pretty awesome.
What is it like for you now to see fans that have grown up with the band and now bringing their own kids to the show? It's
pretty cool. I've seen that happen with other groups, but I didn't imagine that, you know, that I would see that for the Urge. So it's really cool because now I run into people, you know, they're my age or a little bit younger, and they have their, you know, teenagers or younger with them at shows. Like, this is his first concert, and that's pretty cool for a kid to say that, you know, the Urge was his first concert. I hear people say that. So it's a really awesome feeling.
How do you manage to balance, you know, your band, the Urge, you know, the hot dog business and all that, and your family to boot? How do you manage to do that?
I have a lot of really awesome people around me, so it's not like I'm doing everything all by myself. So I do perform a lot. I love doing it. these days I'm doing maybe 100 shows a year between Steve Ewing and the Urge. So that means I'm playing, a few times a week. But I'm at the restaurant during the day, and I have 2 business partners that are awesome, and I have an amazing management team that can help run everything we do off-site as well in the restaurant. So I have a lot of help.
How big has it been for your hot dog business to be able to partner with St. Louis City and sell at the soccer stadium?
That's huge. We knew that was going to be huge out of the box. We just were kind of waiting in the wings to see if it was actually going to happen and what they were going to do food-wise. So we had a feeling they were going to go with local food in the place, but we didn't know they were going to go just fully all local only. And so what they did was they put out a feeler to the public and said which restaurants would you guys like to see in there, and it was 10,000 responses, and it was pretty much overwhelmingly Steve's Hot Dogs responses. So I think everybody just kind of figured hot dogs would go great in the stadium, and it's going well. And the press we got from it was amazing. They pretty much used us, Balkan, and a few other restaurants as the face of the food in there. So we got a lot of recognition from it. So it's pretty amazing. They've done a lot of work, and they've worked out a lot of kinks, and within 1 year. So something like this is takes a lot of effort, to try to take small restaurants or local restaurants that do everything in house and make them do large format concession style sales in a short period of time. So it's kind of goes against what we do. We cook things slowly. We have a lot of homemade ingredients and all that kind of stuff. So this is trying to figure out how to do all that really fast for a whole lot of people. So it was challenging, but everybody's figured it out.
Here lately, I've been reading a lot about there's been a petition going around about fans wanting the Urge to be have a star on the Walk of Fame. What would that mean to you and the band to be able to make that happen?
It'd be nice to just get some recognition from not just our fans, because our fans are there, and to us that's all that really matters. But it would be nice to get some civic recognition, some recognition from the actual city itself. People would embrace it that way. But on the other hand, it's like I said, we have our fans, and that's really the most important part of it. But it would be great. It would be cool.
Back on everything you've been able to accomplish musically, business, what stands out to you as the most impressive or most important to you?
Well, definitely what we've been able to do with the Urge. I mean, and the fact that it endures here in the region. So it's, I think back on it and wow, there was a lot of things that happened, a lot of moving parts and a lot of pieces that came together at the right time. And we put in a lot of work, and so I'm very proud of what we were able to accomplish as a pretty much a punk rock ska band. You know what I mean? Out of St. Louis,
right.
A lot of things happened. It's pretty cool.